Behind the gear, there's a shining behind the gear. So get on up behind the gear.
Hey guys, what's up? Billy Cardigan here with the Hexsom Pedals Arena Corner, and today we're interviewing a very cool seeming guy, George Clanton.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Anyway, usually when we do these interviews, it's like in a real venue or whatever, but this time we're doing it on Zoom, which is like a computer software because of this coronavirus, which is like, for people who don't know, it's a disease, a very bad disease that's going around. But there's some very cool things about Zoom because in real life, when you interview people, sometimes they smell bad, such as when I interviewed Mac DeMarco, he smelled like cigarettes and alcohol, and that's, to me, offensive odors. He's a very nice man, but you may smell terrible, I don't know, but I can't smell you right now. So Zoom could be good for such things as that.
I'd rather just do this for the rest of my life if I could, if people would buy tickets.
So does it suck to you that there's a coronavirus, or is it okay?
It sucks. I mean, it was really cool at first, but now, see, I live in Los Angeles. In Los Angeles, if you can't kind of go outside, and basically you have to pay a premium to live here to have a chance to like rub elbows with Hannibal Buress. And if you're not be able to go outside, you're just you're a sucker.
Behind the gear.
The purpose of this show is we talk about gear and music gear, the pedals that people use. So you're like a cool rock artist, George Clanton, not George Clinton. And do you like George Clinton?
Yeah.
But George Clinton, I did meet, he signed my CPAP machine because I have sleep apnea, and I met him and I had my CPAP with me and he signed it, and he said he has it too.
I have a CPAP machine. Could you sign my CPAP?
I want it.
You want this?
Yeah, I want the CPAP. I need a CPAP machine. Got a little boosted line right here.
All right, good to meet you.
I want that machine though.
That's awesome.
So do you also have sleep apnea like George Clinton?
I don't. I have a lot of sleep problems, but sleep apnea is when you can't breathe at night, right?
You snore very loudly, and it's very disturbing to loved ones.
No, I don't have that.
Behind the gear.
So the weird thing about him is he had a band Funkadelic, but that was more like a rock band.
Yeah.
But it said funk in the name.
Yeah.
It was a rock band, which was very cool because it tricks you into listening to it and saying, oh, this isn't going to be rock, but then it is. Right. So like you're, and that's another way you're similar to him because your thing is called 100% electric, right? Mm-hmm. So I thought it was going to be electric music, but then it had a rock feel to it when I listened to it. So you tricked me in a similar way.
Yeah, it's an Iceland-Greenland situation.
Yeah. What do you mean?
Iceland is green and Greenland is ice.
Right.
You switch them to trick people to keep them out of Iceland.
So is that why you chose 100% electric for your name, to trick people? Or is it because you really think you're electric?
That's a tough one. I mean, I never thought of it as tricking people. I don't like to think of myself as a trickster, but if you want to put it that way, it's exactly what I intended to do. Yeah.
Behind the gear.
And I did notice that your most recent album you did with the man from the 311 band, and that's definitely a rock band, the 311 band.
Yeah.
So even though you're saying you're electric, that was a 311. So how was it working with that guy?
He is Nick Hexum, you're talking about, from 311. He is amazing. He's obviously a very talented person. And he's older than me, but more handsome. So that was weird for me.
Well, a lot of rock guys are older, but often they're very cool. you know?
Yeah.
And that's something also that's different about the Zoom versus interviewing people in real life. Because when you're with some of these rock guys, they can be very hot and you can observe their bodies in person, but over Zoom, you can't, like, you could be really hot, but I can't fully observe your body right now.
Right. I mean, it's just a risk that you don't have to take. You can mitigate the risk of the stink versus the hot level. I mean, I think it's just better this way. Is hot? Is seeing someone hot better than not smelling stink? You know what I'm saying? The risk outweighs the risk.
Behind the gear.
So how did you write the songs together with the 311 man, Nick?
It was pretty nerve-wracking because I'm a huge 311 fan, like big time. From childhood, I think I discovered them when I was 8. My mom bought me the 311 CD, and she didn't know how many F words on it. Even though it had a parental advisory, I think that just slipped right by. And on the back, it said, "Guns are for pussies." But I don't think that she looked at that. But if she did, it's kind of like a positive message. I mean, I don't think that in 2020 we use the word pussies so as much to describe someone who is weak, because that's a gender-loaded kind of insult. And I don't like that as much. But what they meant was really good. It was a different time.
So they meant that guns are similar to reproductive organs because they shoot things out. They spray stuff. Because the vagina doesn't really do that. That's more like a penis kind of action.
Well,
Behind the gear.
So another thing I wanted to say that's different about doing these Zoom interviews versus a real interview with a real person is usually I familiarize myself with the artist by reading their Wikipedia before doing the interview. But when you do it on Zoom, I have your Wikipedia open right now, so I haven't even read it. I can just look at it while we're talking.
okay.
Behind the gear.
So was the album good that you guys did? I haven't listened to it. Did you like it?
Yeah, I think it's good. A lot of people said it was bad. A lot of people said it was good. We're sure are selling a lot of copies of it, so I think it's pretty good.
Is it hurtful when people say it's bad, or you don't care?
I get pissed big time. I get so pissed off. So I Google myself 4 or 5 times a day. The second that somebody says something negative, I start kind of researching who they are, trying to figure out where they live.
Do you usually do that on Twitter or Facebook, or what? Where do you attack?
Wherever I find them. It might be a website called, like, one time I went after somebody on rateyourmusic.com. I was like, well, look at this. You said that my music was bad, but you gave the new Weezer album 4.5. What do you know?
Which it was a 4.5.
I didn't listen to it, but I just said it really.
Well, they're one of the better rock bands of all time. I'm surprised as a rock guy that you haven't heard that, because they're very, them and what are some other good ones? Led Zeppelin and Jimi Hendrix are really great rock artists.
I've heard their stuff, but anything that's come out in the past, 5 years, I've been too busy.
Behind the gear.
We should talk about the gear, because this is a show about gear, effects, and pedals, and the different kinds of pedals that rock musicians use. So I thought, as a rock guy and a celebrity, that you would have because sometimes, remember MTV Cribs, and you see people with the big houses and stuff, but you just have a white room, which looks similar to a room that I maybe would have been in a non-rocker's house, but you can tell that you're a musician person because I see a piano thing in the shot.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a musician person. I'm not very rich, so I have a small house.
Okay. And
Redman on Cribs had a small house.
Behind the gear.
if you watch an old Led Zeppelin clip, you're like, wow, these are hot young guys. But you look at them now and they're all old and ugly and they're not even hot at all. But then you see a younger guy like John Mayer and he's pretty hot, and you think, wow, he maybe is now today what Led Zeppelin was back then, because he's the hot guy now with the guitar.
It's going to depend on to what degree, to the scope and the magnitude of his Satan worship is what's going to determine John Mayer's fate.
So you're a John Mayer fan, right?
I like the early stuff.
And do you like his Grateful Dead cover band?
No.
Behind the gear.
Because if the knob is here and then the knob is there, it's not like 1, 2, 3, 4. It's just like anywhere in between. And all of these knobs come together to kind of create a combination. Oh, just like the good. So this is actually a lot like a guitar pedal.
I was going to say this is similar to a guitar pedal because they have many knobs that do different things and make the sound different than how it sounded before.
Okay, so
what you're saying is
yeah.
the knobs make the sound different than how it sounded before by changing the sound of the sound.
Behind the gear.
There's just too many knobs on it, and I don't even use it because I get overwhelmed, so I'm trying to get rid of it.
It might be a very expensive piece of gear.
It is.
Because it looks like something that like a Led Zeppelin guy, like not like the main cool guys, but like some of the more boring, like the boring guy in the back, like he would probably play something like that.
Yes. John Paul Jones.
Whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
Behind the gear.
This is a analog drum machine. So like a drum set, it has a kick, a drum 1 and drum 2, just like a drum set. So,
but still, it's much smaller than a real drum would be. So in a way, it's a lot better.
It's a lot more convenient. Yeah, let me tell you. And that's kind of, you're getting to the crux of my whole existence. Remember when we were talking about how instead of going into the other room to get my guitar, I'll just press the keyboard and put it through a distortion pedal and tell everybody that it's a guitar?
Yeah.
So in the same way, you can, instead of going to the other room to get your drum kit or hiring a drummer or something, you can just plug a keyboard into this and tell it to play drums. And then you don't have to have a drum. But you were talking about how small my room is. Well, this makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, because we have a big drum kit in there. And often drum players can be very fat and they would take up even more space in the room. And then if you live with them, they snore because the obesity.
Behind the gear.
Do you ever sing about scary themes or things like that in your musics?
I mostly just whine about, some girl that made out with my friend instead of me like 20 years ago.
When you were 12?
Yeah, when you're in middle school, and then there's like the cool kid invites you to his makeout party almost just to make you feel stupid. But when you're 12, you don't know what kind of party you're getting into. It's just, oh, this is Bradley's birthday party, and his dad is going to watch a movie with his girlfriend upstairs while everybody else is in the basement.
So that's what they do in Virginia. They send the children to the basement to kiss. I never did that here.
Behind the gear.
This is going to blow your mind. This doesn't have any keys or knobs on it, but
it's like a big box. Basically.
It's a box, and it has sounds in it. There was a electronic band called The Prodigy that used this thing, and if it wasn't for them, I would have never have found it because
they gave it to you.
They didn't give it to me. There's more than one.
Behind the gear.
It's a Roland U220.
Oh, it's U2, like the band U2.
I think that their name has some kind of relation to this. Yeah, they came out around the same
they
time.
Built it to help the U2 band make even better, cooler music.
Well, if we still have enough minutes left on this Zoom, you could probably bring up their Wikipedia and find out.
Behind the gear.
So I did want to ask you, I saw on YouTube you were interviewed by the bald guy who reviews music on YouTube.
Yes.
Was that cool?
It was pretty cool. I mean, he's really popular, and he's a pretty nice guy.
So does he like your music? He's like, oh, this guy makes cool stuff? Or he's like, oh.
In his review, he says that there were things that he liked about it, and then there were things that he didn't like about it. I think that he likes me and the way that I look and the way that I speak even more than he likes the way that I rock.
Because with rock music, it's always about how cool the person is and if they look good and hot. So that's like very important to it. So it sounds like he probably does like your stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
and maybe if he said something that was negative about you, disparaging in the article, it was a way to kind of manipulate you to hurt you so that he can get closer to you because he really likes you.
Well, it worked. It worked. Now I
I'll like text him if I feel lonely or something, and I'll say, why did you give me a 7? Why didn't you give me an 8?
Behind the gear.
George Clanton, thank you so much for teaching me about some of the music you use to make the cool rock and electric music that you made. And it was a very educational experience.
I hope that others can learn from this too.
Yeah.
Effects and Pedals, Arena Corner.
This has been a Shy Boys production.